The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Star Sport podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurley and I'm joined today as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Now on today's show we will preview a county final coming up for a West Cork club. Of course that is Ilen Rovers. They are an Intermediate A football championship final action against Ballinora this Sunday in Super Valley Park Cave at 1:30. And I suppose, Kieran, it's been a long journey for Ireland to get to the final. I suppose 3 relegations in the last 4 years. They're now in the Intermediate A final after being unbeaten throughout the whole season. They've played absolutely brilliantly throughout the whole campaign. They come up now against a Ballinora team who themselves have good form coming into this final after 2 very good wins in the knockout rounds. But for Flor O'Driscoll's men, it's a brilliant opportunity to, number one, play in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, the home of Cork J, and number 2, to show what they're made of in the county final.
Yeah, it's been one of the local kind of GA stories of the year, Matthew. Ireland's redemption arc, if you want to put it that way. Like you mentioned there, their relegations in the last couple of years, and we've spoken about it at length in the podcast previously, from being a Premier Senior team in 2021 to now finding themselves in the 4th tier of club football in Cork, and off the back of that as well, or alongside that, there was back-to-back relegations in the league as well, going from Division 3 down to Division 5, where they were this year. But this was the season of stability that Ireland really needed, because it was just free fall those last couple of years. I think, was it 2 years without any championship wins, kind of losing all their games in Senior A and in Premier Intermediate to drop down to Intermediate A. But this is a season of stability that is kind of blossoming and flowering into something that maybe was beyond even their kind of wildest expectations at the start of the season. There was the press night in the Celtic Ross Hotel just last week, and I was chatting to Damien O'Sullivan, the Ireland captain, and he said he didn't think the misery would ever end, kind of when you're stuck in that losing cycle and it's just defeat after defeat. And it's like he made the point, and so did Jack Collins, that winning is a habit, but losing is a very hard habit to break out of. But that's what Ireland have done this year. They've steadied the ship, they've pointed it upwards, and they're now within 60 minutes of a county title, which would be huge for the club, but also promotion back up a grade.
Exactly. So, and I suppose with Ireland this year, as I said, they have been unbeaten throughout the whole campaign. They were in a tough group with Boherbue that reached the final last year, and they beat them the first day out. Drew against Kilmurry, a fancy Kilmurry team that went all the way to the All-Ireland semi-final at junior level last year. And they beat Vincent in the final group game as well. And then in the quarter-final, they beat another fancy team in Mitchelstown, who have a lot of inter-county players there as well. And then the semi-final, I suppose a big win over Adrigole, 24 points to 22 after extra time. Not just getting to the final, but getting over a West Cork rival like that. Adrigole having won all their games up until that point. That was a tough game for Ireland, but they got through that as well. But throughout the entire campaign, really, Kieran, they have been very, very impressive. In fairness, in their draw against Kilmurry, they were ahead for most of that game. Kilmurry paid them back for the draw in the end. So, Ireland have acquitted themselves really, really well in this championship.
100% Matthew. When you go back to that first game against Boherbue, that was Ireland's first championship win for a couple of years now. When they've all said it afterwards, that was such a massive relief for everyone involved in that team. You could feel the kind of weight lifted off their shoulders, because it was that winning feeling again, and that almost kind of released them to go and do what they've done since, which is kind of worked their way into a county final. They say themselves, kind of, the Kilmurry was maybe their best performance. They felt they're patchy enough in their last kind of group game, but they've come through 2 really tough games against Mitchelstown and against Adrigole, who are kind of stalwarts of this grade the last couple of years, getting to 3 county semi-finals in a row, but themselves unable to take that last step. So for Ireland to get past some really good intermediate A teams, I think it kind of augurs well going into the final. And as well, what also augurs well is I caught up with Dan McGowan at the press night, Matthew, and he was making the point that the game against Adrigole last day out was the first time he actually felt like himself. Dan kicked 12 points that day. Like, that's what you've kind of come to expect of Dan McGowan. Like, he's been just a kind of the scorer in chief for Ilen Rovers team since he made his senior debut. That's come back to 2010, so only a couple of years after they're in the county senior final. So that's an incredible service from Dan. And just for a piece of info, he missed his first ever championship game for the club this year. He was he didn't feature in the win against Boherbue because he'd missed the whole league with an injury. But he was telling me that he's starting to feel like himself now, and that game against Adrigole was the first time that he felt he kind of contributed the way that he knows that he can and make an impact on the team. And I think that's very positive for Ireland, that they've got to this stage of the championship without depending too much on Dan, who has been a main player for so many years. So if you add a kind of a fire and Dan McGowan into a really well-functioning Ireland team, it gives them a good chance against Ballinora. But you mentioned at the start too there, Matthew, Ballinora, like, are they peaking at the right time?
That's it. It's a very difficult one to see with Ballinora, because obviously the group stage, out of the 6 teams that progressed, they were the only team not to win 2 games. Every other team won 2 games. They beat St Finbarr's second team, and they drew one other game, and then lost to Adrigole quite heavily in the last game as well. So it was, I suppose, a tough group campaign for the Muskerry men. But then in the quarterfinal, they did beat a West Cork team in the quarterfinal. They beat Gabriels 113 to 111 below in Rossmore, and then against Kilmurry they beat them as well. And this is a Kilmurry team that went back and drew against Ireland, so it can be considered a difficult game for Ireland in many ways with Ballinora. Of course, they do have inter-county players at their disposal as well, most notably Neil Lorden, a cornerback, who got a 2-pointed free, I think, in the semi-final, so he could add that to his locker. You have Robert Cork there, Kevin Verner, Mark O'Brien, Michael Cork. Like, they have some very, very good players, and they have been on a journey themselves as well. And as you said there, they might be peaking at the right time as well. But I suppose another question in relation to that, Kieran, which do you think is kind of better, performing well throughout the whole championship for the 5 games or whatever, or peaking in the knockout stage? What do you think is probably better for a team going into a final?
I think you want to be working towards a peak, kind of as in that you can try as well as best you can to get your best performance on the best day. Doesn't always work out like that. I think when it comes to Sunday's final, Ireland won't care how they win it once they win it. If it's an ugly game, but they win it, that's all that matters when it gets to final winning. But having that bit of form coming in will certainly help. Like you mentioned, Ballinora there coming off the back of 2 really good wins, and you mentioned the likes of Robert Quirk and Kevin Werner and Mark O'Brien and Michael Quirk. Like, there's a good spread of scores there, Matthew, isn't there? Like, Robert Quirk is 216, Kevin Werner's 212, Mark O'Brien 211, Michael Quirk 113. Go down to Ivan Quirk with 6 points. As in, they have a good steady spread of scores there, which could stand them in good stead going into this game. It's a really intriguing matchup. It really is. Like, when you compare Ballinora's group stage form to where they're at now, but Ireland have been very consistent right through the championship, and I think they'll take a lot of confidence from that. And I think that's really important for this Ireland team, the confidence and the momentum, especially for a team that had lost that feeling of winning, to now have it. Like, they just want to keep that feeling going, and you get a sense that they're building towards something as well. Even the fact that Flor O'Driscoll is back involved now. He came on as a sub against Adrigole. Like, he's a really experienced head, kind of a connection to the kind of days gone by as well. To have someone that experienced back involved, it's that if they need him on Sunday at some stage, he'll answer the call. And like, you've Ireland fellas who've been there for 10 or 15 years, kind of they know what it's all about. And you've that younger brigade as well. And I think Ireland's story too, Matthew, was like they lost a hell of a lot of players over the last couple of years. I'm not sure who said it, but someone definitely said it a few years back, that there was an Ilen Rovers team out in Australia kind of living out there. Like, they'd lost so many players to immigration, or people had moved to Dublin and had just moved away, so for the club to regroup and get back to a level like this, which is a county final, is fantastic. Important too to note the role of Flor O'Driscoll in this. He's the Ilen Rovers manager. We have a piece in Thursday Southern Star about Flor. He's Mr. Ilen Rovers, from a player to a manager on several occasions. He was manager back in 07 when Ireland got to the senior county final. He's been manager since. He's been a selector. He's held an awful lot of roles, kind of having someone like Flor and his management team involved. I think it's been huge for the team this year in terms of organisation and just giving the team that belief and those tools to kind of build a season like this. So it's just obviously we want Ireland to win on Sunday. That's a kind of a shared hope from by everyone. But I think what's really important too is that Ireland have turned the ship around. Kind of whatever happens on Sunday, you're going to have to be positive looking forward.
Definitely do. And I suppose before our big match prediction, you talked about Flor there coming back in for Ireland after a few barren spells, obviously, over the last few years, being relegation after relegation, not just in Championship, but as you mentioned before, in the league as well. How crucial was it for Flor to come back in this season?
I think he's someone who knows obviously the club inside out, and talking to people around the club who know him, like they just have like there's such good things to say about him. Kind of as a player, he was committed, he was dedicated, he was intelligent. But it's that commitment that people keep kind of pointing me towards. As in, I was kind of even told stories when going back years ago when Flor was living up in Dublin at a time when Ireland were a junior team and struggling. He'd leave the capital on a Friday evening to make sure he got down home on a Friday, and he'd leave the capital early on a Friday, sorry, to make sure he got down for training that Friday evening. So he's a fella who's definitely put his shoulder to the wheel. He's also a man who just likes to kind of stand in the background and stay in the shadows a small bit. And I've just they're from the same neck of the woods, but there's definite similarities between Flor O'Driscoll and Ilen Rovers and Dominic Casey and Skibbereen Rowing. It's in two men from the same parish, kind of not too far from each other, both we gone to Lachine. Just that their fingerprints are all over their club success stories, and it's that hard work as well. But it's their how they empower their athletes to kind of to go do what they do, but also how they just step out of the spotlight. Like Flor just doesn't want to kind of he doesn't want the limelight. He'll wait till he sees Thursday Southern Star when he sees lovely big write up on him and he's his impact with his club. But it's those kind of unsung heroes like Flor that kind of deserve so much credit in a story like this, but also everyone in that kind of that bigger island support team who have through the tough years just kept on going. And then McCone made reference to this when I was chatting to him. He said like even his own mother Jo, who kind of washes the jersey and stuff like that, is in the ladies who make grub after training, is in they've been constants through the tough days, through the bad days. So that's why a win for the whole club would be huge on Sunday.
Yeah, massive win if they do manage to get over the line. And obviously a lot of people are hoping or in and around these areas that Ireland do get over the line. What do you think, Doug, here? Do you think they can get over the line? Is their form going to be good enough going into this final? I suppose look at statistics and look at the runs to the final and stuff like that, and the fact that Ireland were Premier Intermediate last year, you would consider Ireland probably marginal favourites. But what do you think yourself? Do you think they can get over the line?
I think they can. I think they have enough kind of experience in experience in that team, the likes of the Jack Collins, fellas like that, kind of Dan McOwen finding form at the right time. I think they've just found their mojo again this year. They kind of found their groove, and I think there's a quite confidence in the team that they know if they can perform on the day, that'll give them a great shot at bringing the county title back down to Affadown and Rad and Baltimore and the islands, and just sparking huge celebrations. Kind of. I think they know that if they perform, that they have a good chance, but they'll also be very wary of Ballinora because. And we just mentioned it. They're coming good at the right time. It's a very intriguing final, but I give my nod to Ilen Rovers to become the only West Cork winner of a county title so far, county football title. Sorry, apologies to our Kilbrittain listeners. Kilbrittain obviously flying the flag in the county hurling stakes, but Ilen Rovers could become the only West Cork club so far to win a county football title, and hopefully touch wood that they can do the job on Sunday.
Exactly so, and wishing Ilen Rovers the best of luck in the county final on Sunday in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. The second of that doubleheader on Sunday as well. I suppose it's a Musgrave derby, so quite interesting from around our parts as well. Eve Lair come up against Bullock, two sides that are unbeaten in this competition so far. Eve Lair have won every game so far. I think they have an average winning margin of 10 to 12 points or something like that. Bullock haven't conceded a goal in this campaign, but then they're coming up against a guy, Chris O'Jones, who scored 6 goals and 25 points in the championship. So I suppose one kind of record has to be kind of broken this Sunday. It is an interesting tie, this game.
Yeah, something has to give. You've the Bullock's mean defence against a free scoring Ivlera, like you said there, Chris Jones, like 625, like that's incredible scoring. But you look at the other side, and Bullock, Luke Casey's got 612, and you Matthew Bradley with 20 points. So they're well able to put up scores as well. But this is a really, really intriguing game. Kind of two mid Cork teams going toe to toe for a county title. It's hard to know which way this is going to swing. Like your kind of head would tell you, like, as in you've Chris Jones there, he's a match winner. Cathal Vaughan, obviously on his day can is very much in that kind of same milk as well. Kind of he's well able to get scores. But then you're looking kind of Bullock, like how mean that defense is. Is it kind of an average of 12 points they've conceded in this run to the county final. I made a prediction in the last one, Matthew. So I'm going to put you on the spot here now. Call this game for us.
Jesus, this is a very, very tough game considering like Bullock got to the final last year. They actually won the intermediate A, which Ilen and Ballinora contested. They actually won that 2 seasons ago. And their manager, Ray Keane, is actually the manager of the Cork under 20s next year. So they do have a good manager, a good kind of structure, and a good group of players there as well. So it is going to be very interesting to see them. And then Eve Lera, since they came up to Premier Intermediate, they have been very, very consistent in getting to the knockout stages of the competition. And then you look at Chris Og, you look at Cathal Vaughan, as you mentioned, Timmy Roberts as well as a very good marauding kind of defender there as well. Almost having Chris Og is almost like, I wouldn't say exactly like this, but almost like David Clifford playing for Foss in the Intermediate Championship in Kerry. Like it's almost like a cheat code. You have this type of player playing against Premier Intermediate defences. Like it's absolutely outstanding in many ways from Chris Oak. He's proven his worth for so many seasons now. 6 goals, 25 points. It'll be very interesting to see what Bullock actually put on him. Obviously, they haven't conceded a goal yet, so obviously Ray Keane, I think, is a very good tactician, so he'll probably identify a guy to go on Chris Oak. So it'll be very interesting to see that kind of dynamic as well. I'm probably going to tip it to Eve Lair, to be honest with you. I just think their attacking threat is so great at this present moment in time. The likes of Vaughan and the likes of Chris Oak, I just feel like that will be enough to get them over the line. But Bullock, they'll definitely give it their all. And then again, this final went to a replay last year, the Premier Intermediate, between Bullock and Kilshannock. So who's to say we can't go for another replay in this competition? But we'll see on Sunday. I suppose in the county championship as well, moving back to the Carbery teams, Kilmacabea in the football and Ballinascarthy in the hurling are both in county championship action this weekend. I suppose starting off with Kilmacabea here, and they won the Carbery crown last Sunday, defeating St Mary's 15 points to 10 after Ian Jennings. We talk so much about Damien Gore with his displays for Kilmacabea. Ian Jennings got 4 2-pointers from play, 9 points overall. Absolutely sensational stuff. They play against Carricknabar in the county junior A quarter-final this Saturday in Newstown at 2:30. I suppose for Donny O'Donovan and his team, this has probably been well documented that Kilmacabea will be focusing on the county championship. Donny O'Donovan wants his side to win it, so it is an interesting game. But no, they don't just have Damien Gore as a threat, but Jennings too.
Oh, that was incredible for Ian Jennings, the Kilmacabea captain, to kick 9 points in a Carbery final as his team defends the crown, wins back-to-back junior A football titles. It's kind of the stuff of dreams, and it was a kind of centenary final as well over in Skibbereen on Sunday. So it's one that'll mean an awful lot to Ian Jennings. And in fairness to him, he's been thereabouts as a key Kilmacabea player for the last couple of years. It's no surprise that a lot of Kilmacabea players are often in Damien Gore's shadows, kind of when you consider the scores that he puts up. But Mary's, in fairness, had him well marshalled the last, I think it was just 3 points that he finished with. But Ian Jennings with his 4 2-pointers, they were crucial scores as well, because they all came at important times, especially in the second half. I think he reeled off 3 in a row for Kilmacabea to kind of propel them towards the title. So this was a win. I'm not saying it was expected, but Kilmacabea have high standards, and they've made no secret in the past of wanting to win the county and try and get up into the county championship grades. So this was a very important step to kind of to unlock the next door to go into the county series. But winning Carbery can be very tough, seen in the last couple of years. I think Kilmacabea are they the first back-to-back champion since Kilmacabea in 17-18. Would that be right? I think it's been a pretty tough championship to win, yeah, and then try and defend it the year after. So they've kind of managed the first part. Now they're going into the county series, and this really focused the minds. It's kind of interesting to see what the celebrations were like in Kilmacabea over the weekend, because they know the county is coming this weekend. They said their quarter final this Saturday, and they hope that's the start of the next journey. So it's kind of Kilmacabea for county really could happen. Like they've been there or thereabouts when they've got out before, but it's just such a tough competition to win.
It is definitely, and obviously they went out in the semis to the eventual winners in a scar last year, so they'll be hoping to go on and win the county outright this season. And of course, Ballinascarthy are also involved in the Junior A hurling county championship this Saturday at 2:30 in Coatford. They're up against Kilshannig, the Avondhu champions. And for Ball, I know they've won recent Carbery crowns, but their last 4 county championship games in Junior A level, they've won 1 out of 4. And then when you look at the rest of the Carbery division, since the turn of the millennium in the Junior A hurling county championship, only Barry Rowe have won it in 2007. So I suppose Ball will want to change the fortunes for themselves first of all, and for the Carbery region in many ways as well in this Junior A championship.
Yeah, the county junior A hurling hasn't been a happy hunting ground for Carbery teams over the last couple of years. And if we're being realistic here, kind of Bell could be up against it this weekend. You're kind of playing Kilshannig like a team from that neck of the woods. Kind of could be it's a tough hurdle for Bell to jump, but they've had a couple of weeks now since they beat Kilbreen in the final to kind of prepare for this game and focus in. And the hope is that Bell that they can get a win under their belt, because if they can win one game, the confidence that they'll get off that and the momentum, like kind of you'd hope that could kind of propel them on too. And that would be good news for Carbery hurling. Kind of we've already seen Kilbrittain win a county hurling title, super for Carbery hurling. We banned it in a couple of weeks' time in a county final. Touch wood that goes well. It'd be great to see Bell as well, kind of just get to the business end of the county junior A championship. So like you mentioned, Matthew, like the Bell's record hasn't been great, but they have a chance here to kind of improve that record this weekend. And again, like I've done a few times in this podcast, touch wood, the West Cork team can come out on top.
Hopefully so, and we'll see how Ball and Kilmacabea both get on in the Junior A County Championships this weekend as well. And also in the under-21, we've seen that Ibane Gaels and St. Colum's won the under-21 competitions in Carbery in recent months. They're in county action. Ibane were already in county action. They beat Mallow in the county quarterfinal in the A grade by 213 to 110. So a brilliant win for Ibane there. Owen O'Donovan and Luke Murphy performing brilliantly there. Their next task is against Kinsale in Ballinspittle in the semi-final of the Under-21A Football Championship. That's the semi-final stage. And also in the Under-21B competition, you have St. Nick's facing St. Colum's in Ballinascarthy. That's at 2 p.m. on Sunday. So difficult games for both sides, I'd imagine. But for Ibane, they won last weekend. They'll be hoping to make it 2 wins in as many weeks. And then for Colum's, it's a difficult game against Nick's, who have a few players that played in the Premier Junior final against both of them. But a good opportunity for both Carbery clubs to progress further into the Under-21 Championships.
Exactly. Like you look at it, Ibane as well, I think in the match report it was noted it was 56 days since they won the West Cork final. That was a Friday night in Dunmanway when they did Throne Bantry Blues. So for Ibane to kind of hit the ground running in the quarter final, I think it's quite encouraging. You mentioned like Luke Murphy got 1-2. I think Owen O'Donovan did he get 7 or 8 points? The two leading lights for Ibane combined for 110, and they're key. Those two lads are really key to how far they can go in this competition. Going into the semi-final against Kinsale and Ballinspittle on Saturday, the fact that Ibane have that game behind them, I think that should definitely help them. Kind of just we talked about momentum in the likes of Ballinascarthy hurlers and stuff like that. You want to win to build momentum. Ibane got that last week. They got that win. You hope they can build momentum. So hopefully they can go far. And for St. Colum's too, they're venturing into the county. They'll want to get to try and get towards the business end. So there's but it's quite busy this time of the year, kind of in the various different grades. Even going down to the junior Bs and the football with Donnies and you've Glengarry from Beara, and you've in obviously Bantry Blues, and new Carbery Junior B hurling champions are in action as well. So it's kind of it's a busy time of the year, and it's an exciting time of the year. So plenty to look forward to this weekend, Matthew.
Definitely plenty to look forward to, and best of luck to all teams involved. May I say as well, it's very unusual for it to be busy at this stage of the year. Obviously, we thought that it would slow down, I suppose, in October, but we're going to the winter months and there's a lot of action to get through. And best of luck to all the West Cork teams involved in county championship action this weekend. We'll take a quick break now, and after the break, we'll have more on this week's podcast.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So it is that time of the week again where we look at what's in this Thursday's Southern Star. And I suppose we mentioned before the break here, and we thought it'd be slowing down a small bit, but no, it's not. There's a lot of action to look forward to and a lot of reading this week's Star too.
Yeah, it's still really busy at this time of the year. We're hurtling into November, but we're still kind of 24-page sports sections are the norm for us right now. But that's a good sign for West Cork sports. So this week, obviously, we've the big Ilen Rovers preview. We chatted about it earlier in the podcast, taking on Ballinora. It's a 4-page preview, so not just for Ilen Rovers fans, but I think for even West Cork football fans, there's plenty of quality reading in there for our readers to enjoy. Obviously, it's been so many divisional finals have been on this past weekend, so we've two pages on Kilmacabea's Carbery Junior A football win. We've Bantry Blues winning the Junior B hurling title. Donny's winning the Junior B football title. Also go over to the southeast. Ballygarvin winning there. The Musgrave Junior A football final was a draw, and the replay's on this weekend. As well as that, we've a 2-page special on the Lions Cup. It was the inaugural Lions Cup, so it's in it's like the Hurley Cup in Carbery football, so it's for first year teams from secondary schools. So we'd our first ring there a couple of weeks ago. Hemmys came out on top, so we've all the news from that, as well as that the West Cork League has shown no signs of slowing down either. All the latest from that, and the West Cork Schoolboys League. We've have a catch up with our latest West Cork Sports Star Paddy Palmer Youth Award winner, Michael Hayden. He's a young basketball player from Bantry who played for Ireland in the summer. And just switching back to GA for a second, even the likes of Donny's ladies, I know they lost in the Munster semi-final dramatically, sudden death, free kick at the end of extra time, like kind of just nerve-wracking stuff, but still been a memorable season for them. So there's so much reading in terms of Southern Star, really worth checking out.
Exactly. So, and as usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you can subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get to the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter your details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.